Okay, so what has your experience been in the supplement industry, this wonderful, self-regulating, self-policing industry where nobody means to do any harm to anybody? They're not just out for profit. Tell us a little bit about the supplement industry itself.
Let's go. So I'll tell you about our first batch. So you kind of know why we started the company, and our initial view was like, well, let's focus on the bisglycinate. Let's get the oxide out and let's have a nice bisglycinate. And it's very popular and blah blah blah. And we went to our supplier and we said, hey, can we get it to be pure bisglycinate? They said, yep, absolutely. I said, awesome. And they said, here's the COA. So for people that don't know what a COA is, it's certificate of analysis. And when you have the raw material, which was magnesium bisglycinate powder in this circumstance, the supplier produces a certificate of analysis. Now, me being new to the industry, I assume certificate of analysis means that it's certifying something, but it wasn't certifying anything, it turns out, because even though it said it was 100% pure, it turns out it wasn't 100% pure. And the way that they arrived at the 100% pure number was through a theoretical calculation. They literally took the molecular weight of the magnesium bisglycinate powder and they said, here's the formulation, here's the actual weight, ergo, it's about 99% pure. And that is how they arrived at their purity calculation. So, and there's so much to this, but that is the kind of COA debacle. So what we did and how we're taking, so anyway, we had some customers who pointed out that like, hey, it seems that your magnesium measurement for pure bisglycinate is maybe not 100% possible. Could you look into that? And we said, well, here's our COA. It says it's 100% pure. They said, we're not sure. So we dug deeper. And I think we're probably the only company in the world to actually go that level deeper and say, push back again and again and again on our suppliers and our raw material suppliers. And they came back and they said, uh-oh, there's a bit of oxide in there. So
Ah,
that was very interesting. So then when we went to go and figure out, okay, well, if we're going to do a batch two, obviously we want to fix this. We want to make sure that this never happens again. How would we go about doing that? We thought, well, we need to make sure that the raw material that comes in isn't just trusted by a certificate of analysis that is made by the raw material supplier and theoretically calculated. We need to actually test that raw material, like ourselves, with a third party lab. So we did. And it turns out all of these magnesium bisglycinate powders that are supposedly 100% pure are not. They are actually the highest one we found was 85% pure. But there's another two that were about, it was like 60% and 70% pure when they, on their certificate of analysis, said they were 100% pure. So it starts at the top with that raw material, like certificate of analysis. If that is incorrect, the manufacturer and then the brand and then the consumer all take their information from that first COA, which turns out is incorrect. So I don't know how much this happens in the rest of the industry. We've just focused on one SKU, but what are the odds that a supplement company trying to do their first batch encounter this problem on the very first batch?
yeah. And to go to the levels that you guys went to, it's insane. This is not cheap to do. It's
No.
not cheap to outsource these ingredients and to get them third party tested. And what I find to be amazing, to be so open and honest about it. Like we said in the introduction, it's part of your mission, it's part of your goal. But also, it's like you could have just said, like, first batch, didn't get it right. Let's do better the second time. But we'll just, let's sell, let's get this out there, sell it. Let's not write about it. Let's not publish the numbers. You were completely upfront about it. And yeah, the way you decided to approach it, I think, is amazing. And yeah, we we don't know other companies and what they would do, but I'm willing to bet that probably none of them would do that.
Well, thank you. And it's been kind of it's been very like scary to do. And we thought, but we also kind of thought that actually going back to our initial response from the manufacturer, and I don't believe they're a bad actor. Like I don't believe they were purposely trying to mess anything up. I just think this is the norm in the industry. when we said in Canada, we stopped selling, right? Which is technically considered a level one recall or class one recall or something or other. We're not actually recalling the product because there was nothing unsafe about it, but we just chose to stop selling. And if you do that, that is technically a refund or a recall. And so, we explained this to our co-manufacturer, and they said, "Oh, no, 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 you don't need to do a recall. You don't need to do a recall. We can just go to Health Canada. We can just change one of the ingredients, and then it's all fine. Don't do a recall." And we're going, I'm like, I know we could, and I know that like I'm sure not too many people would notice, but like that is not right. Like not that's not right. And so I feel like companies do this all the time. In fact, I know this because there's these companies selling on Amazon right now and in stores that have the exact same specs that we had that are saying they're 100% pure. It's not physically possible for them to be 100% pure, and they are saying that they are. And I don't know, they're just I guess hoping no one's going to notice or test or whatever. So yeah, it took a lot of we were very upset, and it took it and it's still kind of scary to even admit what went wrong. But we feel that it's a much better message to share this because we're not gonna win against some major company anyway. Let's just be honest about it.
Well, I love that approach, and I always believe in the kind of karma that comes around when you do the right thing and stand by your values. It seems like it always pays you back. So I think it's a really great approach, and I love the openness and vulnerability and the honesty behind it. One of your blogs that I really liked on the Arrow website talks about some of the games and the names and some of the things that supplement companies try to do to sell product. Can you tell us about some of those things that maybe people should be watching out for?
Well, definitely the 100% pure thing. There's a lot of like it's hilarious. On the label, it'll literally say pure magnesium bisglycinate. And then like you flip it around to the back and it's like 70%. It's like, well, what did you mean by pure if you put it on the front? So like that's a confusing one. The elemental magnesium versus like magnesium bisglycinate is a big one. So part of the reason oxide is popular is because the elemental magnesium per gram is much higher. It's like 60% of magnesium oxide is actually elemental magnesium. And it's more like 13% is like what's maximally magnesium in magnesium bisglycinate. So you can get more quote unquote bang for your buck, but at the expense of more GI distress and it's not as absorbed. So a lot of companies will pump up their elemental magnesium numbers on the front, and it's really just by putting more oxide in it. And then the last couple are saying, it's like, oh, 400 milligrams per serving, but the per serving is like 8 capsules, right? That's another good one. And um, yeah, I think the other one, the last one, and I don't know if this is just a convention in the States versus Canada, but I noticed when I go to the US and look at magnesium bisglycinate, they'll say the total amount of the powder. So, for example, in our capsules, we have about 900 milligrams of the magnesium bisglycinate powder. Of that, 160 milligrams is elemental magnesium. So, in the States, I notice, and sometimes in Canada, they'll put the full amount of the powder on the front of the label. So they'll be like, oh, 980 milligrams of magnesium bisglycinate powder, but only like 100 and whatever of that is actually magnesium.